Hey everyone, welcome to another video for all things Brisbane International Film Festival. Please consider clicking that subscribe button because today I'm going to be talking about the latest Coriator film, Monster. So let's get into it. So this is only the second Coriator film I've ever seen, with Broker being the first. He seems like a director that I thought that I would be a massive fan of. I've heard so much praise for his work, and Broker I thought was quite a solid movie with some great performances. And I heard that this was even better. However, that wasn't quite my experience with it, but there was still a lot of good things to take away from this film. So this film follows Minato, a boy who just starts acting strangely, and we start to investigate what is really going on. There are signs that he may have been bullied by his teacher. There may be moments where he's a bully to other kids. His mum's trying to investigate, and we learn a lot about all the characters involved within this story. This is very ambitious, I thought, more ambitious than Broker, with multiple different perspectives and a lot of non-linear storytelling that I thought was all very interesting and added a lot of unique flair to this film. You get Minato, the protagonist, you get a little bit of his perspective, you get his mother's perspective, you get his teacher's perspective, and then you get his best friend's perspective, and they all give you a complete package of the story and shows you that what may have been perceived as one thing was actually something completely different. And that happens a lot during this film, and that is always a good sign of great writing. I believe this won Best Screenplay at the Cannes Film Festival, and due to what it manages to achieve through these different characters is really an example as to why it won that award. It is very ambitious writing that I think does work in that sense. This all leads to a conclusion that I thought was fantastic. The ending of this film has so much to say. There was so much to look into and analyze, and it kind of leaves you questioning things a little bit. It leaves something up to interpretation, but after giving it some thought, it does give you an answer as to what is happening with these characters. And I thought that made the movie a lot better in many ways. It was very powerful and moving, and I really like endings like that where you have to think for a second and then a lot of the emotion and those hard-hitting moments in the final act really hit you. It's almost like a delayed fuse, and that is kind of another good sign of just how good the writing is here. The performances are fantastic the whole way around. The two children who lead this film are fantastic, and you have to give credit to Coriator for really providing good direction to these children, because with children and their performances, you do need to rely on the director a little bit more to guide them through that process, as they're not professional trained actors yet. This is most likely their first ever film, so to guide them through that process, he does a fantastic job of that. Like Broker, this is also very well shot. It is very stunning, the locations that this film is set in. It all looks gorgeous. The framing is excellent. The lighting is great. There's some great moments with fire and rain that all look gorgeous. There's some really great looking shots in this film for sure. Now, going into the negatives, I wasn't really a massive fan of this movie. Even if I could appreciate all of these things that have made it so well received and gotten some awards attention, I am starting to believe that Coriator just doesn't make films for me that are on my wavelength personally. I'm not a fan of a more slower, deliberate type of film, and this is definitely one of those. If you're a fan of that, you're gonna have a blast here, because this is that to a T. With all the great writing, cinematography, performances, they're all there, and it's wrapped in a slower, deliberate package. That package makes this a lot more difficult for me to really enjoy it. I really came away kind of frustrated at the pacing. And even though we're changing all these perspectives and looking at every single character that is important to this story, some of their narrative doesn't really play into what Coriator is ultimately trying to achieve by the end of this film. It almost feels out of place and like it's a bit harsh, but wasting my time a little bit. I don't need to know certain elements of what is happening with the teacher's relationship or what the principal of this school is going through, because at the end of the day, some of these things could be wrapped up really quickly, but we spend a lot of time on these elements to set up maybe one scene or one little moment. And while a lot of people can appreciate that Koreeda really goes to extensive lengths to justify a scene, I found it borderline frustrating and almost pointless by the time we reached the conclusion of this film, because the very end of this film, the final act, is really what Koreeda wants to explore, I felt like. And with some of those scenes, it just felt really unnecessary, I thought. I also felt like it took far too long to get to what it actually wanted to achieve. It all just felt so frustrating, and because of that, I couldn't be as satisfied with the overall arc as I really wanted to be, even if I could appreciate the brilliance that was on display. Because of that, I really don't see myself revisiting Monster anytime soon. It's just not something that I would want to go out of my way to watch. There are just much more exciting films that I would rather rewatch over this. Some at this very film festival. Honestly, I know it's a bit of a hot take, but this is right now maybe my least favorite film that I saw at the film festival. It's the one that I struggled to get through the most. And I know so many people are praising it. So you may really enjoy it and heavily disagree with me. I'm very much under what a lot of people are saying in terms of a review score. But for me, because of the really slow pacing that made me very frustrated and made this a very difficult viewing experience, I just cannot help but feel unsatisfied. And because of that, I'm going to give this film a 2.5 out of 5, even though I appreciate a lot of what it's trying to achieve, the ambitiousness of it all, the great performances. Koreeda clearly has some great direction, and I do think that if you're a fan of his work, you're going to love this film. But I need to really express that Koreeda just does not make films on my wavelength, and this just continued in that essence. So if you are a fan and you're highly anticipating Monster, don't be dissuaded to watch this just because of what I'm saying. I'm sure you're going to really enjoy it. That's what matters here. We're all just providing our own perspectives, and this was just mine. With that said, if you've seen Monster, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And I would like to see if there are any more Koreeda films that I should watch. I know Shoplifters is a really, really highly respected title of his that I probably will still check out, but I want to know if there's any other underrated gems that he may have that might win me over. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.